Hi there, Sandra here from Createinspain. I apologise for any background noise because my husband is once again watching a movie and it sometimes gets a bit loud. If you're anything like me, you've got various inks. This is Memento ink and these little inkers are really handy to have around. I've got a lot of them, probably got about 36 or so, but they do tend to dry out. Now these are water-based inks. I don't want to do what you might think is the obvious thing, to chuck it away and buy another one. But you can see from this test swatch here that it is somewhat dry. Now this is a Carioca and I tested this colour here and it's a pretty good match for that one there. Now the great thing with kids felt tips is A, you can get them in very chunky versions, so this makes it a lot easier to put down larger amounts of ink. B, they're very cheap and you can buy a big packet of things like this for just a few dollars or a few euros. Now these are double-ended ones, so I've got two colours in one, but the colour obviously that I want is this one here. Now I've got a palette simply because I've got them. What I suggest you do is you find either a white palette or a white tile or a white saucer, something that will hold a little bit of liquid. And all I'm going to do is to colour this in. Now the other thing that you can do is to colour directly onto your ink pad, but it's a little more difficult to see what you're actually doing. And if you need to judge the colour, then it would be easier to do it this way. Now in here, I've just got water, nothing else. And all I'm going to do is add a couple of drops of water. And I've got a silicone brush here. I'm using silicone because I don't want any bristles to absorb the ink that I've just made. Now if I want to put more colour down, I can scrape it down further like so. And I can come in here and put some more ink down. Now I don't have to do anything else other than wipe this off my ink pad in here and let it absorb the ink. There would be very little wastage in this. But that has now got the ink on it, and all I have to do is take a piece of paper and to wipe this off. Now you want to cover this, but what you'll find once you've done that is you have effectively re-inked and you have a nice juicy ink pad rather than a dried out one. So I can now use that to stamp, and it stamps perfectly well. So there we go, that's how to refresh your water-based ink pads. Cheap, easy, and not particularly messy. I was experimenting with other methods before and you can see what state my fingers got into. So if you're thinking of this, you might think, oh, what about my alcohol ink ones? Well, you can do the same type of thing if you have an alcohol ink. Put your alcohol marker, mark it all up, and then add your isopropyl alcohol. And let your pad soak that up or tip it onto the pad, or if you need to, get a small syringe and syringe it onto the pad. But if you're using, for example, a flat tile, you wouldn't have to do that. You could just pop the whole pad onto it, let it absorb it, and then you're done. I don't think it gets an awful lot easier than that, and it means I'm putting some extra life into my ink pads. I'm not throwing them out, I'm not adding anything to the rubbish pile, and I'm not spending any money either. A win-win, I think.